Okay, so I'm going to shampoo this room. I do not know why he does this, but my elderly cat, for some reason, it's like the other cats disturb him when he's in the litter box. It's like, the one that passed away did it, the current one does it. I don't get why they do that. He'll be in the litter box, and for whatever reason, they think it's okay to run up on him and spook him out of the litter box. And for whatever reason, he thinks it's okay to come into this room and poop on the floor. It is so disgusting. So this room is getting treated with that Odoban stuff. I'm going to hit it with my Orbitor, and I have a new shampooer. Some of you might already know what it is. I don't think it's like a super effective shampooer, so I'm probably going to follow it up with the big green. I just want to see how it works. But yeah, so gross. And I'm hoping, it kind of gets rid of, I don't know, maybe there's kind of a marking thing going on. He never used to do that. It's like he certainly didn't do it at my last apartment, but for whatever reason, he does it here. And it's like, God damn it. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this cleaned up. And it's like I've already vacuumed, and I did a pre-vacuum with the Dyson, which is a little unusual. I usually prefer a higher performance machine, but, I was just like, this one looks fun. I'm going to use this. So it's usually towards the front of the room he does this, so I've spent some additional time trying to spray that down, additional time and additional chemicals spraying that. So I'm going to get the Orbitor out, and I have a carpet brush for that, so I'm going to get to work. And hopefully keep the cat out of here, because the younger cat keeps trying to get in here, because I'm... So this is what the underside of the Orbitor is actually look like, and mine is on the older side because it's actually not labeled with the Auric name. I found this at a garage sale for $5. My friend Josh was so jealous. Well, maybe not jealous, but I mean, he was like kind of looking for one, and I was looking for one too. And then, yeah, it's like, hey, I found one of these for $5. And he eventually got one of his own, but his is the newer Auric branded ones that have the switch in the handle, as to where mine has it on the base. Much less convenient, but hey, for the price, I can't complain. So, I'm going to start at the front, and I'm going to come back to the front, because that's where the issue's taking place. Outside of cleaning a SIBO rug, I've actually never used this on carpet. Because I had a SIBO dealer rug, and I gave that to my friend Josh because he loves SIBO. Hey, out! on, like I said, I'm going to pay extra attention to the front of this because it's where it seems to happen. I'm tired of it, you know. It's like if I ever catch him in the act, I discourage him from doing it. I, you know, get him out of here and get him back to the litter box, but he just doesn't get it. And it's unfortunate, you know, this is it's a 2-bedroom, but it's like I don't have a ton of space to put like a secondary one, and if I did, I don't feel that would stop the issue. Well, I will say between the two of them, the Host and the Orbitor, it's like I like the Host more. It feels like the Host gets through the area faster, and I think the scrubbing of it's going to be a little bit more effective too. I mean, I know it's a fairly slow brush on the Host, but still, having those two cylindrical counter-rotating ones, I feel like there's more of a scrubbing action going on. I mean, still, a lot of people I've seen use Orbitors for carpet pre-treatment, and it's not a bad choice, especially if you're on a budget. But wouldn't be my first choice, I'll say that much. But I've also had the liberty of using something a little better. So I'm going to pause this while I go fill my machine. And here's what I'm using. I just got this recently. It was a marketplace find, and a friend of mine in central Minnesota picked this up for me. I have had at least 2 of the non-power brush big greens over the years, and I have wanted to try one of these for like ever. So I finally got my chance to try one, and I am not too impressed so far. The biggest issue I have with it is in the power brush itself. And you stay out. See, the problem is, you know, people in domestic settings, or any setting really, always want something that's lightweight and easy to use, and that just does not work well with an extraction head. So I don't think that there is really enough weight on this thing in order to properly extract the water from the carpet. I did do a cleanup of this thing, but I found that there are... let's turn the light on. Yeah, I did a cleanup of this. Here's the spray bar back here. A bunch of tiny little holes in it. It uses a flat belt. I see the Kenmore Clean Mowers typically use a geared belt. That would have been a nice change. And this thing here comes off so easy. Like, it's like I'm beginning to understand why, you know, whenever I see these on eBay, they're missing this clear piece. I mean, it fell off once just bringing it in through the door. So, not super well built. And then a lot of the components in there are held in with a bunch of plastic rivets. So, I mean, I couldn't really get to the motor, not that I needed to. And this handle, I don't care for it. So it has a gray internal pipe in here, and then the trigger was broken because there was a little circular piece of plastic up here where the trigger actually, it's kind of the swivel point for it. And the plastic had actually broken out, so yeah, the trigger was just continuously open. And the way this valve here works is it just crushes the hose. That's how it's supposed to work. And it's like, really? It's like you guys couldn't have done something a little bit better than that. So yeah, I don't have a ton of faith in this unit. And so there's a good likelihood that I'm going to be pulling out my upright rental style big green in order to finish the job. But I figured, you know, I can give you guys a little bit of a demo with this thing, because I mean, it's cool. You don't see many of them, and I know that I can clip the I know I can clip this into the hose, or the brackets on the hose. God, I can't talk. but I don't feel like doing that, so I'm not going to. So I'm going to fire this up. So we got 3 buttons, or yeah, 3 buttons on the shampooer itself. One for suction, one for brush, and one for spray. So let's turn on the sprayer and see if I got that issue fixed. Seems like it. Yep. Okay. And we'll turn the brush on. so I shut the brush off. I wanted to see. Yeah, it's still pulling water. Okay. Well, this is exactly what I was afraid of with this unit. This is about a 2-gallon tank. We were full, or close to full, and this is how much water it got up. So, what is that? Maybe a half gallon? So it left 1.5 gallons in my carpet. You know, like I said, this just does not have the weight it needs to extract. You know, it's not getting pushed into the carpet like it needs, and you know, it's probably not maintaining very good contact with this shoe. So, you know, it's like after having multiple of the regular big greens and now trying out the power brush, I would take the standard big green over this any day. I mean, yes, it's more work having to manually scrub, but I mean, you know, an extractor, what good is it if you're just leaving a bunch of water in the carpet? So I'm going to go over this with the upright big green, just dry passes, and we're going to see how much water that pulls up, because I have a feeling it's quite a bit. And I'll probably after I'm done with that, I'll probably put some water into it and hit this front part. But yeah, this is just sad. I'm going to put this on the tripod, but you guys can clearly see there's water coming up. So I apologize if you guys won't be able to see much. I can't really tell what's going on. So, completely dry run with this thing. I had no water in this tank, so this is just what was left behind by the power brush. And I mean, that's a significant amount of water. You know, it would have taken forever for that to dry up. Still, that, and I mean, look how dirty it is, too. But yeah, I'm gonna throw a little clean water into the tank of this big green, and gonna give those high traffic areas a little bit more work. So it's like after having several of the standard versions and now finally having one of these and being able to try it out for myself, what do I think of it? I think it's a flop. You know, like I said, this head is just not a good choice for this. It's way too light. So, I mean, you know, you end up moving it a little bit too quickly, you know, and that's never good for shampooing. It's like, you know, I caught myself going too fast with it, and it's like I know I shouldn't be. Which is why I prefer something that has a little bit more weight to it, or even something you have to manually push on. But this, it doesn't do any of that. And, you know, with it being light, and then of course having that brush, because that brush is of course going to push, you know, the nozzle up a little bit, so it's even going to remove some of your weight from it. So, you know, it's like if I were given the choice between the standard big green and the power brush big green, I would definitely take the standard one. And it's like, you know, this also wouldn't be, from memory, this wouldn't be compatible with the standard ones either, because this has the button lock on the side as to where the standard one has it on the front. I mean, sure, you could just drill another hole into it, you know, and that would work, but it's just kind of odd they went and redid that. And then I have found, like when using the upholstery tool, because it did come with it, there's just a little bit too much of a curvature here, and it makes it hard to use against like a flat surface. It's like, so it should have had a little bit less of a curve to it. But yeah, you know, this thing will probably remain in my collection just because it's such a unique piece. But I mean, yeah, in terms of actual functionality, this thing is just not practical. And I would assume it's probably the same with the Kenmore Cleanmores. You know, just the lack of weight in here, so it's going to have a lack of extraction. And I mean, why would you want to leave a bunch of dirty water in your carpet? So I wanted to check this, so I'm going to test the suction directly at the motor. We'll test it here too. Oh. Well, that's certainly not very impressive. Well, it's like I could have sworn my regular big green was more powerful than this. Maybe I'm mistaken, though. You know, it could be those nostalgia goggles. But, yeah, not impressive.